But she was a loving person. I think one of the great things that can describe her, she loved little children a lot. That's something that I really love about her. She has 5 siblings left on this earth now. In total, it was 6 of them.
February 14th, 2026. Valentine's Day. In most homes across America, that morning probably started with coffee, maybe a card on the kitchen counter, maybe the smell of something sweet baking in the oven. But in a quiet home on Daphne Lane, a small, unassuming street in Vass, North Carolina, that morning started with gunshots. At approximately 7:45 in the morning, more county sheriff's deputies responded to reports of a shooting in the Woodlake community. When they walked through that front door, what they found would shake the entire county, and eventually, the entire country. 2 people. Both dead. Both shot inside the home. One was a 21-year-old woman named Kateryna Tovmash. She went by Kate. She was Ukrainian. She had survived bombs, sirens, and war. She had crossed an ocean to start over. The other was 28-year-old Matthew Wade, a United States Army soldier stationed at Fort Bragg. A man from a small town in Mississippi who had dedicated his life to service, to honor, to protecting others. Neither of them made it out of that house alive. And somewhere out there, driving north on a highway back toward Ohio, the man who pulled the trigger was already gone. But we'll get to him. Because first, I need you to understand who Kate was. Because she deserves far more than just a headline. She deserves to be remembered. Kateryna Tovmash was born in Bila, Tserkva, a city about 2 hours south of Kiev, Ukraine. The name means white church, and if you've ever seen photos of it, you'll understand why. It's the kind of place with cobblestone streets, Orthodox domes catching the late afternoon sun, and the kind of quiet that only old European towns seem to hold. Kate grew up there. She played piano. She traveled whenever she could. She loved photography, not just snapping selfies, but actually capturing moments. Light through windows. Hands folded in prayer. The ordinary things that most people walk past without looking twice. Her childhood best friend, Kirill Prishchepchik, would later describe her as someone who was just
States
good.
In 2023, her childhood friend is devastated by her loss.
But she was a loving person. I think one of the great things that can describe her, she loved little children a lot. That's something that I really love about her. She has 5 siblings left on this earth now. In total, it was 6 of them.
Whenever I got a call from my friend that Kate is dead, I felt like that part of me was like someone took it away, like, because we were so close.
Friends.
Not in a vague way. Genuinely, concretely good. Someone who always made time. Someone who remembered things about you. Someone whose presence in a room made the room better. She had 5 younger siblings. And from what her family has shared, Kate was the kind of older sister who didn't just look after them, she was invested in them. Their school days. Their feelings. Their futures. Then on February 24th, 2022, everything changed. Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Missiles. Sirens. Evacuation orders. The whole world watched in horror as cities that had existed for centuries were reduced to rubble in a matter of days. Families were torn apart. Millions of people packed whatever they could carry and ran. Kate was one of them. She was 19 years old when she arrived in the United States of America. 19. Think about that for a moment. Most 19-year-olds are figuring out their college major or what to do on a Friday night. Kate was figuring out how to rebuild her entire life from scratch, in a country where she barely spoke the language, far from everything and everyone she had ever known. But she did it. Slowly, steadily, she did it. She connected with the community through a church in Utah, which is how her family, her mother Alina, her stepfather Michael Brown, and her younger brothers and sisters, eventually followed her to America. They settled partly in North Carolina. They were trying to become whole again, and for a little while, it seemed like they might actually make it. Matthew Wade grew up in Hamilton, Mississippi. Small town, tight community. The kind of place where people know your family's name and show up when things get hard. His sisters remembered him as the funniest person in any room. Not in an exhausting, trying too hard way. In that natural, effortless way where people just gravitate toward you. He could make anyone laugh. He was, by all accounts, the kind of person who made life feel a little lighter. Before the army, Matthew had even served as a police officer in Aberdeen, Mississippi. He already had a history of choosing service over comfort. But he dreamed bigger. He wanted to serve his country. So he enlisted. He became a soldier. He was stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, one of the largest military installations in the world. His sister Megan told reporters that Matt had been thrilled about what was coming next. Italy, Hawaii, Japan, Ireland. The army had opened up a world to him that Hamilton, Mississippi could never have shown him. He was excited. He had plans. Somewhere along the way, in that particular way that life works when it decides to surprise you, Matthew Wade met Kateryna Tovmash, a soldier and a refugee, a boy from Mississippi and a girl from Ukraine. Two people who, on paper, had no reason to ever cross paths. And yet somehow, they found each other. They had recently become a couple. They were living together while Matthew was stationed at Fort Bragg. And according to the people who knew them, Kate was happy. Genuinely, fully happy. The last time her childhood friend Kirill saw her, when she visited him in Philadelphia, she told him everything. She updated him on her life. She smiled when she talked about where she was and where she was going. She was happy, Kirill said afterward. It's not supposed to happen with anyone, especially to her. She was a good person. Valentine's Day weekend, February 2026, Kate and Matthew were spending the morning at her mother's house in Vass. Kate was watching over her younger siblings. They had a 6-year-old in the house. It was supposed to be a quiet morning. A normal Saturday. The most romantic day of the year. Now I need to tell you about Caleb Hayden Fosnaugh, 25 years old. From Ohio. Caleb and Kate had been in a relationship before. They had dated while she was living in Ohio. Before she moved to North Carolina. Before Matthew. Before the life she was building for herself in Vass. We don't know the full history of that relationship. Investigators had not publicly established a clear motive at the time of his arrest. But what we do know, what the evidence makes undeniable, is what Caleb Fosnaugh did on the night of February 13th into the early morning of February 14th, 2026. He got in his car, and he drove. Coshocton, Ohio to Vass, North Carolina is approximately 460 miles. 7 hours by highway. 7 hours of darkness and headlights and rest stops and road signs, and at some point in every one of those 7 hours, Caleb Fosnaugh had the opportunity to turn around. To stop. To reconsider whatever it was he was planning to do. He didn't stop. He arrived at 700 Daphne Lane in the early morning hours. He broke into the home. That charge of breaking and entering is listed right there in his arrest warrant. What happened next is almost impossible to fully absorb. According to Matthew Wade's sister Megan, Fosnaugh forced one of Kate's younger siblings, one of the children inside that house, to go and wake Kate up. A child. He used a child as part of what he came there to do. Kate's childhood friend Kirill later confirmed to reporters. She was killed in front of her little brother, who is 6 years old. Fosnaugh shot Kateryna Tovmash and Matthew Wade inside that home. Then he left. He got back in his car, and he drove north toward Ohio. He was gone before law enforcement arrived. The Moore County Sheriff's Office moved fast. They identified Fosnaugh as the suspect almost immediately, establishing his prior relationship with Kateryna. They put out the word and coordinated with law enforcement agencies across state lines, the North Carolina State Highway Patrol, the Ohio State Highway Patrol, and the Coshocton County Sheriff's Office, all working together toward one goal. At approximately 2:30 in the afternoon, roughly 6.5 hours after the murders, troopers with the Ohio State Highway Patrol stopped a vehicle at the intersection of State Route 541 and County Road 120 in Linton Township, Coshocton County, Ohio. Inside that vehicle was Caleb Hayden Fosnaugh. He was taken into custody without incident. No dramatic standoff. No final confrontation. He simply stopped. As of the time of this video, Fosnaugh is being held without bond in the Coshocton County Jail in Ohio, awaiting extradition back to North Carolina. He faces 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of breaking and entering. 2 counts of murder. For Kateryna. For Matthew. Meanwhile, back in Vass, back on Daphne Lane, a family was trying to make sense of the worst morning of their lives. And a 6-year-old boy had just seen something no child should ever have to carry. I want to pause for a moment, because this story doesn't exist in a vacuum. Kateryna Tovmash was not the first Ukrainian refugee woman to be violently killed in North Carolina. She was the second, in just 6 months. In August 2025, 23-year-old Irina Zarutska, another Ukrainian refugee, living in Charlotte, was stabbed to death on a light rail train. Her case drew national attention after surveillance footage was released. The world mourned her, briefly. And then the news cycle moved on. Now, just 6 months later, Kate is gone too. These are women who survived one of the most violent conflicts in modern European history. They crossed an ocean because they believed, because they had to believe, that America was safer, that the worst was behind them, that they had made it. And both of them were killed here, on American soil, by men with access to weapons and no one standing between them and their targets. I'm not going to pretend that's not worth talking about. The intersection of refugee vulnerability, domestic violence, and femicide is real. It is documented. And it disproportionately affects women who are isolated, who don't have deep social networks, who may not fully understand their legal protections, who may be afraid to report a threatening ex-partner because they fear what that means for their immigration status, their family, their fragile new life. Kate had rebuilt herself once already. After everything Russia took from her, she had the strength to start over from nothing in a foreign country at 19 years old. That takes a kind of resilience most of us will never be tested to find in ourselves. She deserved to grow old. So did Matthew. After tragedies like this one, we often look for anger. We want someone to be furious. We want righteous rage. It feels like the appropriate response to something this senseless. But Kate's family had a different message. Through their spokesperson, Amberlynn Brown, the family said this. The message they want most portrayed in any of this is just to spread love. Spread love. Not spread anger at Caleb Fosnaugh. Not spread blame. Not even spread awareness about the case, though they deserve all of that and more. Their first instinct, in the wreckage of Valentine's Day, was to ask the world to be more loving. I don't know how a person gets to that place. I genuinely don't. But I think there's something profoundly Ukrainian about it. Not in a stereotypical way, but in the specific, documented, observable way that the Ukrainian people have faced invasion, occupation, loss and generational trauma, and somehow kept choosing to build instead of destroy. To plant sunflowers in the rubble. To sing in bomb shelters. To say, "We are still here," in the loudest way possible. Kate's mother Alina and stepfather Michael had followed their daughter to America because she showed them it was possible to begin again. And even now, even after this, their message is about love. Matthew Wade's family mourns a man who made everyone around him laugh. Whose sisters lit up talking about him. Who had a whole world mapped out in his imagination. Italy, Hawaii, Japan, Ireland, waiting for him just around the corner. He never got to Ireland. He never got to Japan. He was 28 years old, lying beside the woman he loved, on Valentine's Day morning, and someone decided that their story was over. Kate loved piano. She loved travel. She loved photographs, the kind that capture the things people forget to look at. She had 5 younger siblings who needed their big sister. She had a boyfriend who was already planning their future. She had a best friend in Philadelphia who is still processing the fact that she'll never get to update him on her life again. She had survived a war that the world watched on television and then grew tired of watching. She came here. She built something. She loved someone. And on the most romantic morning of the year, in the quiet of a small North Carolina neighborhood, someone took all of that away. Kateryna Tovmash was 21 years old. Matthew Wade was 28. Say their names. Share their story. And if you take nothing else from this video, take the message her family asked us to carry. Spread love. If this story moved you, and I hope it did, the most powerful thing you can do right now is subscribe and share it. Not for the views, but because Kate and Matthew deserve to be more than a headline that disappears in 48 hours. A GoFundMe was set up for Kateryna's funeral costs and family support. I'll have the link in the description below. And if you or someone you know is in a relationship that feels unsafe, please reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Available 24 hours a day. The link is in the description. I'll see you in the next one.